about how to merchandise your inventory effectively. So this webinar topic actually came to us from a handful of our dealers and is one of my very favorite topics because it goes hand in hand with helping dealers get more customers and more leads and make more money, which is what we know matters most. So for those of you who haven't yet joined us for a webinar, my name is Melina Beeston and I'm the Manager of Dealer Development here at Strathcom. So before I started working here, I'd actually spent over 10 years working in a dealership in a variety of roles, including a year as an inventory coordinator. So I am more than familiar with pulling on a snowsuit to take pictures outside in -30 in the snow, just because the cars had just landed, or sitting in a car hoping that the heat turns on at some point while I jot down notes about what stands out as the most important features so that we could write descriptions. So I have also trained more than my share of inventory coordinators, photographers, and sales managers in the years following to help organize sustainable process for merchandising inventory. And I know that we can do this together as well. So let's talk about what you're going to learn today. We are talking about e-commerce fundamentals and why this process is going to matter in the long term, the different online inventory structures available, and then we're going to go through merchandising best practices. There will also be lots of chances throughout for you to ask questions. We do have a Q&A slide at the end of each section, but don't hesitate to click the button and raise your hand or ask questions in the question box at the side, and JC will read them out to us so that I can answer them for you. All right. So dealership websites versus e-commerce websites. A common misconception that seems to be out there is that dealerships seem to think that their websites are e-commerce sites. And while they have a great deal of similarity to e-commerce sites and we push for e-commerce best practices, these two things are not the same. And the biggest difference is that your customers cannot buy now and fully purchase a vehicle online with no need to do anything in your dealership yet. And it's coming, and we all know that it's coming probably sometime in the next year or two. And we have some dealerships now who do things like take payment online for vehicle deposits, or allow you to pay your service and parts bill online before you pick it up. But we haven't yet graduated to full e-commerce, and for good reason. Tesla and the Genesis project certainly operate as full e-commerce, as does Carvana down in the States. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of, they liken it to like a car vending machine. But this concept hasn't been fully adopted yet in retail dealerships because it requires a great deal of internal process well before any digital development ever takes place. A dealership has to fully commit to this process and iron out all of the kinks even before you can start doing smaller steps like accepting deposits. So for instance, what happens when you have a customer in the store who has just test driven the vehicle and is walking into the finance office at the exact same time that you have someone online pay the deposit so that they can buy that vehicle at the store whenever they get there? Which one do you want to take? Do you want to take the one that just gave you their money, but we don't know if they're going to come back? Or do you want to take the person that you've just invested the time in the dealership? What processes do you have in place? So that has to be ironed out first before we ever do anything else. Here's the thing. If you don't have inventory online, that day is going to come probably in the next year to 2 years, and you're already going to be behind. Put your cars on your website, new vehicles and used vehicles. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about digital retailing, we are going to be doing a webinar next month with DealerTrack. So please keep your eyes peeled for an email with the registration link coming out in the next couple weeks. Before I get too much further, do we have questions about digital retailing or e-commerce? That was a quick little, I could talk about it for a long time, but that would take up the whole thing. JC, we got anything?
We do have one. Someone just asked, since you were talking about online retailing and things like that, is Strathcom currently working on a solution for online retailing and accepting deposits and stuff like that?
Okay, so as I mentioned, we do have some dealerships who do this already. However, they are utilizing, we are happy to integrate certain things like, building out a landing page that we can have so that you can take payment, but it's not our payment product at this time. We have kind of like a long-term development roadmap. Hold on a sec. Okay, so we have a long-term development roadmap, but we don't have a process in place yet because it does take a lot from the dealer's side too. So this is something that we have in its infancy stages right now. It's, well, not quite infancy, it's a little further than that, but it's not something that we will be doing first. Because the thing is that if you want to do this well, and we want to do this so that it provides value to our customers and is something that is going to work for everyone, we need to be aware of all of the different issues and stuff out there. So it's coming, but I'm not going to say it's coming like next week. Is that fair?
Yep, that's fair. Thank you.
Okay. All
No
right,
other questions so far.
None?
None.
All right. So here's the question we get all of the time. Why does it matter if I put my real inventory on my website? I think almost every online marketing manager on our team has this conversation with at least a couple of their dealers. So let's get it out in the open. If a customer is moving through the buying cycle and has already done research somewhere else, like cars or Kelley Blue Book or whatever else, and then they go to the manufacturer's site and it points them towards an individual dealership's website, they know that they need a dealer to buy the car. They can't buy it directly from the manufacturer. But if you don't have inventory, you don't look like you have cars to sell. It's very simple. I guess an even simpler analogy, which you saw me use on our registration page for this webinar, is that this, no image available or no vehicle available, is just as annoying to a customer as doing this when they're buying a house. So first of all, you would never try and sell your house without putting pictures online. If you had a realtor who listed your house and they didn't put any pictures up whatsoever, you would probably fire that realtor because they are not doing their job. And conversely, if you were buying a house, you probably wouldn't think twice about going to see a house if it popped into your MLS listings without pictures. Because why waste your time when that other house when there's other houses in your list that look like someone cares about selling it, like looks like somebody took the time to get it ready to buy instead of just throwing it up for sale and hoping for the best. Like, who knows what you're going to find there if you were to go see it. And while we are on that topic, stock pictures may as well be no pictures. If we're trying to sell ourselves as providing value to the customer when they are looking for a car, why would I show them the same stock photo that they can find on the manufacturer website and any other dealers who also don't care, with the same copied and pasted vehicle description from the manufacturer website and a bullet point list of the features, which also open up in the little fold-out menus below? This doesn't get us where we're trying to go. That stock picture doesn't easily sell anybody a Ram 1500, and I'm hoping it's a Ram 1500, but I can't quite tell because if it's grainy on your screen, it's because it's grainy on mine. And it's because we took this stock photo from a dealership's website and it was that tiny that it got cropped when we put it into this thing, and it is. It's not a good picture. This isn't going to do anything effectively at all. So this is kind of what we're looking at right now. So let's go over the basics so that you can do a better job of merchandising your inventory. Terminology 101. We're going to talk about the SRP and the VDP because you've probably heard your online marketing manager use this a few times, and I guarantee you that you probably have no idea, or if you know, some of you might know, but you might have a slightly different idea of it. So the SRP is a search results page, not suggested retail price, that's MSRP. But this, in these terms, when your online marketing manager talks about it, it's a search results page. And this is the page that shows up on your website when it's got all of your inventory listed right then and there. You can see the pictures, you can see a quick snippet of the price and the published trim and all of these other things, just right then and there, and it's got all of the vehicles showing. Versus your VDP, your vehicle description page, or your vehicle details page that have the description or the details of that specific vehicle in stock. So whereas we might be talking about all of the Toyota Corollas, this is Corolla stock number, whatever, and it's this color and it has this trim package and all of these things about it. So that's kind of the terminology we're going to talk about just real quick, because I will probably use this here and there throughout. Okay, so the next things that we're going to chat about is popular online inventory structures. So there are three main ones that we kind of see out there, and targeting by type being new or used, is the most popular method of organizing inventory online that you are going to see. And it's the most popular one that most of our dealers are using. So but in essence, it's all of the inventory all at once. It is especially effective for dealers who have a very small inventory, but a very diverse model lineup. So Small dealerships inventories is like less than 150 cars, new and used, that kind of thing. It is also extremely effective for used vehicles because you could potentially have a very long list of vehicle makes to have to break things down by otherwise. The downside to listing your inventory like this is that it's basically like throwing your customers into a lot like this one in the picture and saying, be free, figure it out for yourself. And if you spend all of this time and money having someone build out ads that are targeted towards a specific buyer and attract a specific customer to your site for a specific vehicle, why would you drop them on an SRP without a direct conversion path? That seems silly, doesn't it? We're trying to sell them a car, not give them choice paralysis and go, oh, well, you know, they have a lot of cars. You know, maybe I don't really know what I want to find here. So it's a lot to sift through, especially if you are a Ford dealer and you have 150 F-150s just alone. That's a lot to work through. So try and make it easier for them. So the next one that we have is targeted by model lineup. So this way, this is the way that you're going to see most manufacturers lay out their potential inventory online, with only their model lineup linking from the navigation, which takes you then to a content-rich landing page, which is great for both SEO and your customer's user experience, and then links into the SRP search result page specific to the vehicle model that you have in your inventory, so that fits that model. So if we use the same Toyota Corolla explanation, you might have Corolla listed in your navigation. It takes you to a page that has all of the information, videos, whatever that you want to have for all of the Corollas, rather than putting the exact same thing on every single VDP. And then it'll link to the inventory that you can go and diversify by what information you have in stock. So this method is particularly effective if you have a small model lineup, but plenty of inventory, and are a one-line store like Honda, Volvo, Subaru, Chevrolet only, or Cadillac only, and so on. The downside to this method is that it can eat up a lot of real estate in your navigation menu if you are not diligent in your initial setup when you pare down to the model only. So for instance, I use Toyotas a lot as an example, but for instance, if you're a Toyota dealer and you want to go this route, I would recommend nixing any models that you don't carry at all, which can happen sometimes depending on your market, or combining down to one for things like Prius, where we have the regular Prius, but we also have the Prius C and we also have the Prius V. Narrow it down to Prius. Use your rich landing page to talk about the variations in Prius and then link to each one individually from there, rather than having each one in your navigation, that kind of a thing. This also totally doesn't work all the time for dealers who have simply too many models in a model lineup. So as an example, this variation would probably not work well for a single line Ford dealer unless you were only selling trucks for whatever reason, because your model lineup has a lot of distinctly different vehicles that can't really be combined. So you have some that, I guess as an example, like Ford has 5 different SUVs, and they've got 3 different variations of truck, and they've got a lot of different variation of car. It can be a little tougher that way. But if you have that and it doesn't work, this next one, which is targeting by body style, this is probably what your manufacturer does on your own manufacturer's website, and you can target by body style in order to kind of make it something that will transition through your navigation really, really well. So this functions very similarly to target by model, but instead of doing it by F-150 and Focus and all that other kind of thing, it goes instead by trucks, SUVs and crossovers, sedans, and so on. And it is better suited to large model lineups with large inventories. So this is the end of the popular online inventory structures and that kind of a thing. Is everybody on the same page? Do we have any questions, JC?
Just one question so far. They ask, do I have to pick just one inventory structure?
Okay, actually, that's a really, really good question. So you don't have to pick just one inventory structure. What might work really well for your new vehicles maybe doesn't work really well for your used vehicles. Used vehicles are really great targeting by type because you presumably will just, there will be a lot of different makes as far as your used vehicles are concerned. So target by type. Whereas if you have a really concise model lineup, or you have something that you want to diversify a little bit differently and display to be able to provide value to your customer a little bit differently, that's where I would go by model, lineup, or body style. So does that kind of work, Jace?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. All right. So we're going to get into the merchandising best practices. Dealers who have been with Strathcom for a long time have heard all of this stuff. Well, they've heard variations of this stuff before. So let's get it all out.
Melanie, we just had one more question pop in here. They asked, would you recommend putting up a stock photo before we get actual photos taken, or wait until putting the vehicle online altogether? Like, is it better to have the stock photo just put in as a placeholder until you get a real photo?
I would put a stock photo, but like again, like I said, having a stock photo is pretty much the same thing as having no photos, especially if your stock photo stays there for more than a week after the car has landed. So in that case, what I'd recommend is what I have seen some dealers do really, really well is if the car is on the ground, like they usually come wrapped up in plastic and that kind of a thing. What we've seen some dealers do is they'll take a picture of, they'll take one picture that they use with the trucks, unloading the big transport trucks, loading vehicles to the dealership, so that they can say, just landed, or they have an image that says just landed. But if that image stays there for more than a week, you may as well not put it online. Is that fair?
I think so.
Do we have a follow-up to it? No?
Not yet. Okay, yeah, we're all good.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to get into the merchandising best practices. So number 1, decode your VINs. Step 1 is to ensure that your vehicles have their VINs decoded online. So Strathcom's market platform does some of this automatically, but you still have to go in and ensure that the correct trim level is selected, especially if your vehicle offers different engine sizes or has a couple different trim packages. Or especially with trucks, where the permutations and combinations of box and cab size and engine size and trim line, and it all adds up really quickly. Your VINs do display in some VDP variations and some SRP variations, but they're only and barely in some cases understood by your staff. Get rid of the hieroglyphics, decode your vehicle so that the customer knows what the heck this car is. So the next one we have is writing concise but valuable published trim and vehicle descriptions. So this is an example that we took from one of the dealer sites that we use. So this dealer goes out of their way to talk about the things that customers care about in the vehicle. I'm not going to go, it's kind of run on sentencey and whatever else, but let's go through and look at this. So this is for a Chevy Suburban, and it's a local trade with a clean car proof. So they're looking for things that will stand out to a customer. It's got a heated leather interior, a factory remote start, which if you've used GM vehicles before is a good thing, unlike some other manufacturers. It's got a touchscreen MyLink media center with a backup camera, Bluetooth that has the audio streaming, multiple USB ports that have the rapid charge function, 8 passenger seating, power lift gate, power adjustable pedals, enhanced driver alert package, rear park assist, things that a customer may have as a need or a nice to have, so that they can see that there. What I really love about what this dealer has also included is that because of the year, it might seem really kind of straightforward that a 2016 vehicle will still be covered under factory warranty, but they've gone out of their way to share that there's still a long balance of the warranty left, up to this many kilometers or this particular year, which seems so far away. 2021 is still, we're only in 2017. That seems like a great deal. And they throw, in Alberta, you have to write that you're an AMVIC licensed dealership, but they don't just throw AMVIC licensed dealership at the end of the description. It's great. What I also love about this is that, so it doesn't show in this because we wanted to make sure that you could see as much as here. They have the 8 passenger seating listed in the 3rd line of their description. But if you look at their published trim for the vehicle, it says that it's an 8 passenger vehicle further up. What works really nicely for this is that if this vehicle is syndicated, because it's a used vehicle, it's probably going to go on Kijiji, probably going to go on Auto Trader. What it does is it has 8 passenger seating in the published trim, which is what someone may look for if they're looking for a Suburban. Is it 8 or is it 7? Does it have the bucket seats? Does it have the bench? Tell them in the published trim about something like that is a major differentiator versus repeating the exact same thing from the published trim to the first two lines, because the first two lines typically pull through in your descriptions that syndicate anyway. The other thing that I really loved about this is that they left the very simple things into the specifications menu that automatically populates when you decode your vehicle. So the number of times that I have seen that a vehicle, this vehicle has power windows and power locks. I have news. This is 2017, almost 2018 at this point in time. If you are selling cars that don't have power windows or power locks, I'm not sure why. And bragging that it has power windows and power locks is like saying, you know what? I am a human with 2 thumbs. Sweet. It doesn't really work for anybody. So tell them about what they care about. Tell them about the fact that it has power seats versus power windows. Not every car is going to have power seats, even now. That kind of a thing. And leave the simple stuff to the fact that you have this big fold-out menu below with the specifications for the vehicle. Does anybody have any questions about published trim or vehicle descriptions before I move on? Jace?
Just one about kind of tying into the description portion. What are your thoughts on words like e-price, internet price, best price? Is there one that you like better than the others, or what are your thoughts on those?
Okay, well, e-price, best price, at the end of the day, the customer cares about what the price is, which was what we're going to talk about in the next one, but I'll cover it now. At the end of the day, if there is a difference between what the price is when I ask you online versus what the price is if I come into the store, that's not going to work for me as a customer, right? So think about it from a customer's standpoint. Use the same verbiage in the store that you would use on the phone and that you would use online. Just if the price is the price is the price, is really as far as I would see. There's not one that we would say, oh yeah, use e-price because it converts better than internet price. That's not a thing. It's very much what the dealership uses consistently. If you have branded verbiage that you're using, use the branded verbiage. If you have something that describes your price as it is so that customers know what to expect, that's great. But otherwise, it's just bells and whistles. No one cares.
Fair enough. We did have one more question. Would you recommend writing these out? Would you recommend writing these out in paragraph form or using bullet points with key features listed?
Do not use bullet points. So here's the thing, like the table below comes out in a table that's kind of bullet pointy already. And Google likes to read different things in different ways. So as far as like SEO value is concerned or whatever else, like this is something that is set in a paragraph, kind of a paragraph section on a website. So write it in a paragraph form. If your website platform is not a Strathcom website platform and it offers you the ability to put it in as bullet points, great. But realistically, like some things will need to be, I would group certain types of features with other types of features. So they talk a lot about tech in this example at the beginning, and then they talk about some of the other stuff as far as just basic function of the vehicle in a different spot. So this one, I might have differentiated that a little bit as far as like, these are the tech features and these are the other features. But again, it's very much a best practice to write it as a paragraph, probably with better sentence structure than this, so that it is read as English rather than just listing things, because there's a list below. You don't need to do twice the work.
Okay. And then we have another question about, can we add photos to the new vehicle description?
Photos will not syndicate from new vehicle description either. As far as I'm aware, with our system, I know for sure that it pulls through text. It doesn't even always pull through links if you have links. So I would encourage you to use the picture function to put pictures in, as opposed to putting them into a vehicle description. Vehicle descriptions are for words.
Okay. And then another one asks, what about linking vehicle inspections to a vehicle description?
So here's the thing: the hot links won't always carry through. So it's really not, if a customer can't click the link to make it always automatically open another window, it's probably not a beneficial thing to put it there. However, I do know that we have the ability to integrate with CarProof for the vehicle inspection. So that's something there that you could do. You can include something as far as like have talk to your online marketing manager, because you may be able to have the text added somewhere on the VDP that says, you know, vehicle inspection is available at request at any time if you're looking for something over and above a CarProof sort of a thing. Like, I'd phrase it a little bit better than that, but like if you're happy to show mechanical inspections, say you're happy to show mechanical inspections. That's sweet.
Fair enough. Do you recommend dealers talking about the dealership in their vehicle description?
God, no, I do not. So here's the thing. All you're doing is adding duplicate content to every single page. Chances are pretty good that if you have one of a certain type of vehicle and it's a popular vehicle, and again, I'm gonna say like Honda Civic. Honda Civic is the most popular car in Canada right now, and it has been for the last 17 years ish. So chances are good if you're a Honda dealer, you're gonna have a lot of these cars. And if you're not familiar with Honda model lineup, a Civic is a Civic is a Civic is a Civic, as long as it's the same trim line. It might have different colors. So you're already going to have to work that hard to differentiate Civic A from Civic B, especially if they're the same color and trim level. So what else do we have to work with? So adding in further duplicate content provides you absolutely zero value. If they're on your website, they know that they're on your website. They don't need you to tell them where the vehicle is located, because chances are pretty good that if they're on your website, they're going to figure it out. So I guess that's kind of where I'd put that. And when you link and when you have the vehicle syndicate to Kijiji or to Trader, it tells them whose vehicle it is. So I really think you're just wasting space and you're adding duplicate content that is at the end of the day going to come back and bite you in the butt.
Fair enough. And we just had another really good question come in. They ask, cookie cutter descriptions, or should every description be unique?
Every description should be unique. Here's the thing. So when you have your Civic A and Civic B example, like I have, reorganize your text. Don't have it so that I could copy and paste, a stretch of text. So like in this example, it says Bluetooth with audio streaming, multiple USB ports. If I copied that and then repasted that into a Google search, you want to make sure that you put them in a different order slightly, or reword it in a different way. Do not plagiarize your own content. I know you wrote that work, unless you just don't want both of those pages to have good SEO value. If you don't care about that, then we're going to have a difference of opinion if you don't care about SEO best practices, but it is what it is.
That makes sense. Is that it for questions, everybody? I'll just give everyone another second. Jonathan says, sigh, you've given me a ton of work to do.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Unfortunately, doing a good job of this kind of doing inventory merchandising is a full-time job for one person, over and above all of the other things to do with marketing. You wouldn't have a salesperson also washing cars, because you need him to be straight and clean and ready to, cleaned up and clothes on nicely and everything like that to see customers. You wouldn't also have him wash the cars, right? You'd have a lot attendant washing the cars. Have somebody that is dedicated to doing your inventory, because that's an important piece of the job.
And then we just had another question to clarify, back to the descriptions. He just wanted clarification. So you do not recommend having a dealership value proposition saying good things about the dealership in the vehicle description? Like if you wanted to say like, this vehicle has all of these wonderful things. By the way, we have an offer right now, like get a free remote starter, or like just having another like dealership why buy message including in the description.
If you're going to write the exact same why buy in every single thing, then no, I don't encourage you to do that. But if you are just going to have the vehicle description, like if you have a sale specific to, I'm looking at the screen that says Suburban. If you have a sale specific to all the Suburbans, feel free. There is in the market platform the ability to put like a special message specific to that one that can either be added before or after, and that's not a bad thing to have there. It's not a bad thing to include this information somewhere. You can have it so that it automatically, like you can put little SRP banners at the top of everything. If you have this offer that goes with everything, you could throw a picture up that says this is the offer right now and we're going to take it down eventually. But there's not a lot of, I say it from an SEO standpoint, I would rather you not get a penalty for writing the exact same thing over and over again.
So maybe instead of having the value proposition including in each vehicle description, just have it as a banner on the SRP, like including your why buy message and your value proposition.
Correct.
Okay, does that make sense?
I'd also have good landing pages with that. Hold on a second, I'm going to mute myself while I cough.
And were there any other questions, anybody?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay, I think we are good for questions. I think we can jump to the next section.
All right, so the next section is I want you to price your vehicles, and please do it legally. So just like the dealership websites need inventory, that inventory needs prices. So call for price simply isn't going to cut it. It didn't cut it 3 years ago. It doesn't cut it now. Every time we provide this feedback to dealers who don't list their prices, we get the response, but you wouldn't believe how many calls we get asking for price, to which I can only say, but you wouldn't believe how many calls you don't get because people don't want to be bothered asking you for the price that you should have put up there in the first place. It's pretty simple. They can go find another dealership who will provide them with full disclosure. And there are plenty of customers who have done enough research to know that the other dealer can look for it on a dealer trade without ever knowing, or you even finding out that they saw it on your site first. Lots of dealers share that, if we don't have it, we'll find it for you. Great. So if you don't have it there, just because you're the only one with that vehicle doesn't necessarily matter right now. Hold on a second, I gotta cough again. All right, sorry about that. So I would also go so far in to say that if you don't list your prices, when you count up the number of leads that you received that week or that month, you should subtract the number of leads that solely asked for the price and never responded back to another message that your salesperson sent as a response. Because they are not sending in a quality lead, they are fact checking or looking for information that you should have shared in the first place. And as far as the legal piece of the section goes, all-in or drive-away pricing is required by law when advertising your vehicles in British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec. And so that means that unless you are in the Maritimes or the Territories, the price on your website should be the price that you are willing to sell that vehicle for if you only add in GST and any requisite provincial taxes. And if you don't, your legal body that governs this can fine you or do whatever they decide they do as a punishment. This also means that you have to include admin fees or whatever else you need to charge to cover off the dealership's expenses on that vehicle. It needs to be built into the price that you list. So at the end of the day, the name of the game here is trust. And how much customers trust you and your dealership plays directly into your reputation, which, as we've discussed in past webinars, is not only a key ranking factor, but something that affects your bottom line. And the image above, right here on the slide, is the one that I found from a motorcycle dealer that goes over and above to show how they built out their total price. So it talks about, like, this is what the MSRP is. This is what it cost us to bring it's a motorcycle, so not always the same, but some of the same things costs them to bring this motorcycle into the dealership. And this is the charge that we had to pay for, putting together some stuff, for preparing the vehicle, cleaning it, so on and so forth. This is what we're charging you. This is how we arrived at total price. And this is old hat as far as sales concepts go, but one of the best sales managers that I've ever seen, he used to be quite good at setting his price and then drawing this kind of thing out and expressing it to customers. And even when the nastiest, smarmiest of people that came in because they know everything and they want to negotiate, especially before they even see the vehicle, it's amazing how simply explaining how they arrived at his fair price either helped a customer along to purchase the vehicle quickly, or it sent him to another dealership to lose their pants on the sale because he knew that his inventory pieces were desirable and that there would be other customers who would pay the price he was asking. So you are going to know better than anybody else what vehicles you can stand to move a little bit on and which ones you need to hang on to. But don't be afraid to let customers know up front that, you know, this is a trim package that everybody seems to want right now. There aren't very many of them. This is what the price is. We've actually been testing some of this internally at the office with Kijiji and Kijiji pricing, and we found it kind of crazy how easy it is to get a customer to admit that what you're selling is priced fairly if you explained how you arrived there in the first place. So I am assuming that there may be questions about this.
You are correct. So the first question that we got was, do the fees need to be itemized or can they be included in the total price of the vehicle?
Oh, you like do what makes sense for you. Like our system is going to require that you include it in the total price of the vehicle. Your governing body is going to require that it is included in the total price of the vehicle, but how you arrive at that price and how you demonstrate that you arrived at that price, totally your call. That's something that you can include in your description if you want to include it in your description because it'll be specific to this car, right? So.
Okay, perfect. And then the second question that came in was, do we have a section or a tab for admin fees?
Well, like, what do you mean as far as like, do we have something built into the market platform for this?
Or Danielle, do you mean, oh yeah, she said yes.
Okay. No. I don't believe we have. I believe it's like if it is, it's a hidden field, but not something that's going to show and break it out like that. If that is something you would like, please share it with your online marketing manager so that they can put it in as a feature request and we can upvote it at the office so that it gets developed quicker than other things.
Okay. Yep. She's going to talk to her Haram about that.
Perfect.
Awesome. And were there any other questions before we move on? No, I think we're good.
All right, a little bit easier there. All right. So the last merchandising best practice is that you post real pictures and you do it quickly. Pictures should be up the same week that the vehicle arrives. And you should set a process or a timeline that works for your dealership. Be realistic. If you know that you have an off-site space that the vehicles land and then maybe they don't tell anybody at the dealership, or maybe your photographer is located in one building and vehicles are located in another, or maybe you have maybe you have a lot of deliveries going out this week, so detail is already overloaded and you need a process and you need to set the process and set what the expectation is. And then somebody needs to be responsible, presumably your inventory coordinator, whose job it is to manage the inventory and take the pictures and such, to manage it, I guess, and to keep everyone accountable to that process. I use this example from a dealer that we have in here. It's actually, you can see it on the license plate. It's Kelowna Infinity Nissan. They did a killer job, so I don't mind not blurring that out because good for them. Like, this picture looks great. It's clearly taken in their detail bay. You know, the floor is, you can see the footprints on the floor and the tire marks on the floor, but that car is never going to be cleaner than the second the detailers finish it. So they back it up into the middle of the room where clearly the light is best, and they take a picture of it right then and there. It doesn't need crazy editing or any editing in most cases. I think this dealership evens things out so that the lighting is the same, but they don't touch the cars. They don't spend a lot of time spot touching everything because you shouldn't. You should post a real picture of the car. Don't up the contrast, don't change the lighting, don't try and do things. Make sure that it is consistent through all of your pictures. I would encourage you to take your pictures in the same place every time. But I would kind of handle it in that way rather than going super crazy with editing and lights. It shouldn't take that long to get this out, and adding too much editing will also add to the turnaround time. That's not great. The other thing that I think people are probably going to point at me for is that there are 10 photos that you can see of this car. It says right there that there are 10 of them. This is a very base level Nissan Sentra. And it only took them 10 photos to kind of showcase like what this car has. There is no magic number as far as how many pictures you should take of any particular car. If it takes 10 to sell this car, take as many pictures as you need to sell the car. If it only takes 10, it only takes 10 because, we don't need to showcase that, well, here's where the button would be if it was at upper trim level and you'd have this feature here, or here is a picture of the non-power seat crank. Sweet. Don't tell people about that. Sell the car effectively. If it takes 10, it takes 10. If it takes 50, it takes 50. I'm probably not going to encourage you to take 50 because I don't know that customers are always going to go through that, but you may have the customer that does. What I will tell you is that if you're syndicating it because it's a used car, Kijiji only takes the first 10 pictures anyway. So make sure the best 10 are the first 10. Do we have any? I'm going to go into like what to include in your pictures and what not to include in your pictures. Does anyone have any questions quickly about just the need to have pictures?
Evan just brought up our iPhone app. It's called the Lot Capture app. And he said
Yes.
it hasn't been updated in a while. And he just asked
Okay.
if we're looking into doing an update on it. He said you can take pictures from your phone and automatically add it to the vehicle, which is correct. As far as updates and stuff like that, I know we did just recently update the terms and conditions, like with Apple and things like that. And we're always working on updating our products and things like that. If there is a specific update that you want, again, pass it on to your online marketing manager. We can enter it as a feature request and we can get that upvoted. So I don't know if you had anything else to add to that, Melina. But.
No, that's a better answer than I was going to give anyway. So
okay, and then we had another question here. We are often waiting for cars to get clean. Your opinion of shooting cars that are a bit dirty to get them online versus waiting?
wait. You'll see me talk about it in a little bit, but dirty cars have no business being online because that's not going to sell them. It shows that you don't care. Or at least to the customer, it says that you don't care. So that's the way I'd look for it. There are all kinds of methods out there to get the car clean. If you got to drive it through a drive-through wash nearby, get it done. And just take one picture of the outside after it's just been quickly washed. That's not a bad deal. But if you have to wait a little bit for a full detail, wait a bit for the full detail, and you will see why in a couple examples that I've got.
Okay, and then Jonathan, the app is called the Lot Capture app. It's free. You can just download it from the App Store, and like Evan said, you can take a picture right from your iPhone and upload it right to the picture or to the vehicle.
You can also so we used to use this at the dealership that I was at. We used to use this to write descriptions sometimes because you could sit in the car and go, oh right, it has this. Oh right, it has this, and you could put it in the private dealer notes, which save in Market, and then when you got to your computer, you could write it all out nicely. But yeah.
And yes, it does work on Android as well.
Yes.
My fellow Android user, we're rare.
Yeah. Casey's the only one at the office, but yeah.
Okay, if that's it for questions, I think we can keep rolling.
Okay, so what to include in your pictures. So the whole purpose of taking pictures is to help show the customer what you've got and build value in it. So the examples that I'm going to show you in the next couple slides are of a few different several-year-old used Honda Odysseys. So it is easy for me to show you why pictures of a brand new vehicle or an accessorized truck or a halo car, why those might entice someone. So I picked a minivan because let's face it, nobody looks sweet driving a minivan, and I know because I have one. So we're gonna look at how you can merchandise something that maybe isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but man, does it look exciting. So here is Mercedes-Benz Kelowna took these ones, but if you look at this, this is how you want the exterior shots of your vehicle to look. So they took it in, they take all of this dealership takes them all in a consistent place. I think this is right in their delivery bay. You don't have to be inside, you can be outside, but they do the exact same thing every single time. So the vehicle is clean, especially with a black vehicle. My goodness, this is magical to me, because in some, if you're, because you guys are all from dealerships, you know that keeping the black ones clean and scratch free, this is a great shot of a great car. So my first picture every single time we ever took a car is if you go in the top right corner here, you see that we have the front 3/4 shot of the vehicle, because you get the most view, the largest view of the front and the largest view of the side. You get some shot of the wheels. This is what the car looks like to everyone. You're going to see some difference in opinion as far as whether you should shoot it with the nose pointing to the left or the nose pointing to the right. If you're looking for my personal opinion, every single car on the road has a driver and not every car has a passenger. So I would always shoot a car with the front 3/4 coming from the driver's side, because this is what a driver is going to see when they walk up to that vehicle. This is their car. You want it to be their car. So shoot it from the way that they're going to look at it. You'll see other dealerships or other manufacturers I know have recommended to their dealerships that they shoot it the other direction because they think it leads the eye that way. At the end of the day, personal preference, but pick one and stick to it. The front shot of that car should be the same angle through every single one of your cars. As far as like a pet peeve or like a nitpicky thing that I used to do is, if I could go to my SRP and that front corner where that headlight is, I should be able to take my finger or take a ruler and draw a straight line down the SRP page, and every single car should hit that mark in the exact same spot. And it sounds harder than it actually is to accomplish. Once you get it and once you mark your spots, you'll know. Once you get used to doing it, it really isn't that hard. Conversely, it is also really easy and uses up the fewest number of pictures to do a rear 3/4 shot the same kind of way that the shot below does. But yes, it is important to do it straight on from the back or straight on from the front, or straight on from the side, whatever works. But the two that are going to provide the best value are going to be this one here. Hold on a sec, guys, I got a cough. All right, can you hear me again?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's all I have for the exterior shot. So this is what you want to see on the outside of the car. But when we get to the inside, it's also about building value. So let's look at why a used minivan might just be the thing you've been missing all of your life. So top right-hand corner here, we've got a beautiful shot of the front interior of the car. So this one, actually, I believe they accomplished the white from the front just by having light above the car. But if you want to do this and you're shooting from the outside, it's really easy to take a white bed like a white flat bed sheet, toss it over the car, and just make sure the car is lit, and you'll get that white shot there without having to edit it all out. But that's the easiest way to do it. The front interior of this vehicle, we get this beautiful shot of the dash where you can see that all of the gauge clusters light up the way that they should light up. You can see that they still have the plastic on the floor from freshly cleaning the carpet on both sides, but there's no plastic on the seats. There's no plastic, on the dash or anything like that there, because this is a real car and we don't want it to look like we're hiding something under plastic. This is the car as it is. And you can see that there's a push button start. You can see that there's nav in the car. You can see that it's got a detailed screen and everything like that with the entertainment portion. But the dealer also, if you go to the left one here, also has pictures of the different convenience factors of this. So we can see that this is clearly on a dash from the driver's side because that's the way that the door curves. But look how convenient it is for the driver to open the back hatch without having to get up, or to turn on their parking assist, or to turn the power doors on or off and open and close them right from there. And if you've got kids that you don't trust to not touch the power button in the back seat while they're in the car, switch that bugger off. So it's got traction control. Everything is right then and there. And if you looked through this vehicle on the dealer's website, you would also see more pictures of the different convenience factors as it looks. If it had a power seat, it's got shots of the power seat. If it has heated seats, it's got shots of that section of the gauge cluster. And it's going to use up the number of pictures that you have, but it builds value. If I'm driving a minivan, my goodness, it better be comfortable and it better provide me some sort of convenience factor, because it certainly isn't providing me this style that I might like. So, and then the last thing is that if you're looking for the cargo factor in a minivan, it's got a picture of how the Magic Seat works, rather than just showing me that the seats obviously fold flat. I get that from this, but I also get what configurations it folds down in and that it folds flat. And it looks like it's a great feature to build value with the Honda Odyssey. So next one. here's where we really get into it. So the car has a backup camera. That is great. The car also has sensors to tell you what, like if there's anything nearby, and you can see all of this from one picture. You can see that you can change the view to a bird's eye view from a rear camera view. How awesome is that? And this is a used one, so I would never have thought of this, but like it is absolutely super cool that they did it like this. And it's got some backup cameras are only going to have the shot out the back. This one, I know that I can see where the bumper sits, and I can know how far back I can move, and I can know what's in the way if I was to back up straight. Like, this is a great shot that shows a whole bunch of features of the vehicle in one picture. If I didn't know that it has blind spot monitoring, I know because they had something sitting in the blind spot of the car that caused it to light up. Sweet. And if I see that big magic wide screen that's on the top right-hand corner, I am going to know that the kids sitting in the back of my minivan are going to be super quiet because they can watch Dora and her backpack friend go on all kinds of adventures in widescreen so that they can see as much of what's going on as possible and maybe not bother me quite as much if I have to sit in the front of the van driving a whole bunch of kids around. So those are really great. I could go on for a long time about great things that you can do, but some other examples is if the car comes with a second set of wheels and tires, take them out of the bags and stack them up right next to the back of the vehicle. It comes with a second set of wheels and tires. Great to tell me this like this, because then I might have read it in the description, but I see it and I know it and I know it's a thing. Some dealers, if it's a used vehicle and it doesn't have brand new tires on it, they put a coin in to show you how deep the tire tread is and how much tread is left on the tires. So that's awesome. If it has the balance of factory warranty, take a picture of the warranty book with the fact that you have all of the owner's manuals. And if it's got extra sets of keys or remote control fobs or anything like that, put them all in the same picture, lay them out nicely on the seat and include that. Build value in what it is that you're selling, and include as much as you possibly can with that. So that's what I have to say about good ones. JC, do we have questions, or can we hold questions until after I go over what not to include?
Just a couple of comments. Jonathan said that he wants that screen, and so I just said, well, look at us wanting a minivan.
Right.
And he also asked, do you recommend this collage style for interior photos as opposed to single photos?
No, so this actually, I didn't, these are all 3 separate photos that I took from a dealership's website in their VDP, just so that I could show you a whole bunch without having to flip through every single slide. Like I show it like this. If it's in a collage, the problem is that it'll show quite small, and it'll show really small on a mobile phone. So I would rather let you have a full-size picture and just go through multiples. Does that answer the question?
I think so. And then Sean asked, do you recommend a dealership picture as well, or just pictures of the car?
So the standard answer we used to have here is that, like, we're selling, even with the homepage of your website, like, why do you have a picture of your dealership when you should have a picture of the car you're trying to sell? We're trying to sell cars, not buildings. Now, I've changed my stance on this slightly, in that you are always trying to sell your dealership and you're always trying to sell your dealership's experience and value. Otherwise, like, they'd buy the car and they'd never come back, right? So I don't think that this is the right place to put a picture of the dealership. I think that it's unless you have a picture of, like, some dealerships have kind of that point right near the road where they can put like a special car and it has the dealership in the background. If you have one picture that's like that with the dealership in the background, cool, but don't feel the need, like, if you have 300 vehicles, man, that's going to be like laborious at the best of times, just to take that one shot. I don't think it's necessary to have a picture of your dealership all the time. It's a nice to have, but it's not more important than having pictures of the car.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. Any other questions before we keep going? I think, do you recommend having a banner around your cover photos?
No, I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I promise I will cover that. So while we're there, let's, I hope my mouse didn't just die. Here we go. Okay, so what not to include in your pictures. So it should be pretty easy to tell what shouldn't end up in a picture and why. I've pulled a couple really easy ones because I could nitpick the world apart, but we don't need to. Like, let's cover over the really important ones. So somebody asked me earlier about whether or not it's important to just get a picture up online, or if it's and if it's okay to take pictures of a dirty car. Look at this one on the left, where you can see that the car is clearly dirty. Somebody has used the windshield wipers to clear some of the dirt away, but not all of it. You can see dirt spots and, you know, condensation from the engine dripping at the front, and like, my God, this thing looks like a dumpster fire. So no, do not take pictures of dirty cars. Clean them. At the very least, hose down the outside. Like, I would never, ever, ever do that. Another thing is, so the one on the upper right is a cargo van. Cargo vans are not exciting, but why on earth did we leave the plastic on one seat than the other? Now, from a dealership standpoint, I know that the answer is because the technician probably had to drive in the driver's seat and didn't put one on the passenger seat because nobody was sitting in the passenger seat. But if you're going to take pictures of the front of that vehicle, like of the driver's seat, or that front dash shot, like the one that we showed you in the earlier example, you're going to have to take the plastic off one seat. Why wouldn't you do this the first time? Like the armrest is up on one and the armrest is down on the other one. Like, I was a nitpicky inventory coordinator, but man, this is not good. And then the last one is one on the bottom here. That I pulled this picture yesterday, and it's a 2016 vehicle. It's a 2016 new vehicle, and look at how much snow is on the ground. I'll tell you what, there's not that much snow anywhere near that dealership, and hasn't been all year. It's only October. We've only had a little skiff here and there. That's not a new picture. So if you are going to take pictures outside, which you absolutely should do if you don't have somewhere, I'd take them outside before I wouldn't take them. So take the picture outside. But if you're going to have snow in their pictures, or you're going to have beautiful grass in the pictures, when it's time to change seasons, take a new picture of that car. And if this one has been sitting on the lot for as long as it has, I'd probably have taken new pictures of it by now. So other bad things that I could have made like 10 slides, but other bad things to include: warning lights. If you turn the car on and you don't buckle your seatbelt, it shows up as a warning light. But in certain sizes of a picture, it may just look like a red warning light on the dash and maybe not a seatbelt, or maybe it's an airbag light, or maybe there is something really wrong with that car and I'm looking at the dash going, well, the odometer says this, but why are all these red lights lighting up? There must be something wrong with this vehicle. I don't want to buy something with a vehicle that's wrong. Don't do that. Like, just do whatever you can to turn the warning lights off. And if there are still warning lights on after you've done what you need to do to turn the rest of them off, then it's time to take it back to service and go, something's wrong with this car. You also should not put up pictures of the wrong vehicle in order to, so say you had one and you've got another one landing right away. But what you don't know is that there is a slight difference to one from the other. If they're going to be identical and a car is a car is a car, don't reinvent the wheel. Like, you can probably get that done quicker. But if there are differences, or you haven't checked with somebody, or somebody hasn't communicated that, well, we actually sent this one away to get running boards, or we sent this one away to get a box liner. Then you've got the wrong pictures on the car, and somebody's not going to understand why one is priced a little bit differently than the other, or maybe the price hasn't been updated. Like, there are any number of things. If you're going to use duplicate pictures, be as diligent as you possibly can be to get it right the first time. I also do not encourage you to edit out dings or scratches that will be apparent the second that the customer sees the vehicle in person. So if there's a scuff on the side of the car and we're not going to be able to get it out, and you know that, so you've priced the vehicle appropriately and everything like that, like, don't hide it. If they're going to walk up to it and go, oh, well, this was misrepresented in the picture, I wonder what else the dealership misrepresented. That's not good either. And then the headers, or the frames or footers or whatever else you guys use. So you can see that I've edited out some dealership information in all of these ones, kind of here and there and everything like that. Here's the thing about headers. On your own website, totally unnecessary, because you already have a header at the top of your dealership website that tells them who you are and where you're located and what your phone number is and all of these other things. And I know that lots of dealerships already have all of that information crammed into the header as it is. Do you really need to clog up space or account for losing space that you could be showing a vehicle when like that information is going to be readily available somewhere on that VDP anyway? So you've got that. I don't mind throwing a logo here and there, just so that somebody knows that this is your car and you didn't take that picture from somewhere else, but I think the rest of it is kind of overkill. The other thing I'm going to say about that is if the argument is that it's because you're going to be syndicating it, you want it to go to Kijiji or you want it to go to Trader and you want them to be able to call you right then and there, I'm pretty sure you pay Trader and Kijiji really good money. I know that you pay them really good money because I've had those bills myself, and it has basically each of those things has a call tracking number, and it has your dealership's information right there. So by putting a second phone number or a second method of finding you or contacting you, like you're never going to be able to track every single secondary conversion. So where you have the customer saw it in one place and then goes and Googles you to see what else you have, like that in and of itself is going to be hard for you to track. Don't muddy your data anymore, because you need to be able to show your general sales manager or your sales manager, whoever else you need to be able to rationalize budgets with. You're going to have to be able to show them, this is how many views we got on Kijiji. This is how many leads we got from Kijiji. This is how many times our car showed up in a SRP versus a VDP on those sites. And you're going to be able to have to demonstrate, you're going to need to be able to demonstrate value. So I would not encourage you to muddy your data any further. Use the call tracking numbers that you're already paying for. It's really, really simple that way. The other thing I want to touch on here is that all three of these dealers that we took these pictures from, and man, did I have a lot that I could have used, were all pictures that I took from dealership websites who contract out their inventory photos. So you can see it, you can sort of see some of it in the edges here. The quality of this photo is an exact representation of this vehicle. Nothing has been altered to hide imperfections. I'll tell you right now that the contrast and the brightness on these cars has been cranked far further than what a vehicle actually looks like. And that color is already going to look different on somebody's phone screen versus their computer screen versus a monitor screen and whatever else. Trying to do color correction like this it makes the picture look fake. If you're having them replace backgrounds or replace the ground or color, like there are some where we saw that the car had clearly been shot in a field with grass, but because this particular company uses color correction on the ground, they painted the grass to look like cement, or they'd placed the vehicle in the middle of a street so that it could be in front of the car. Like this, it's overkill and it looks fake. And if you're going to this much effort to make it look a certain way and to make it look like you've altered things in this way, a customer is not going to believe a disclaimer like this that says that you haven't done anything to alter the look of the vehicle, because you absolutely have. You've already altered where the picture was taken. You look dishonest. And if I was the dealership who paid somebody to take pictures of my vehicles with plastic or dirty cars or in the snow and never came back, like I'd want my money back, because I've watched each of these vehicles sit in inventory for a little while now, so the picture that they paid for is clearly not working. And the attention to detail and that kind of a thing that you're going to get if you do it in-house versus if you pay someone else to do it, you can't compare the two. If you have the same company doing pictures for you and for your next competitor down the road, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes away, why do they have any loyalty to do a better job of your pictures than they do of the other guys? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like they're looking for speed, not for quality all the time. So I would be very, very cautious. Or if I'm going to pay for it, I would make sure that I'm getting my money's worth and need to be very diligent in checking these over before I ever had it uploaded to my website. So does anybody have, this is where we can use this fancy Q&A slide. So talk to me about what you think I should ask, what questions you might have about what to include versus what not to include in your vehicle pictures.
I know you just finished talking about this, but before you started talking about it, Michael just asked if we've ever heard of software companies specifically for processing car pics or sorry, it's just of software specifically for processing car pics?
So software specific to vehicles, no. I'm sure it exists out there. I haven't shopped it effectively because from coming internally from a dealership, I always valued having an on-site photographer for any number of things. Like, it was just as imperative to have a photographer on staff because they are as valuable or more valuable in some cases than having the number of salespeople that you have on the floor, or having a lot guy. Because at the end of the day, how these vehicles are represented online is a major, major consideration and a major investment. I would never, ever want to use something else for that. I know that all of my guys always used Lightroom, like Adobe Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop, or the old Aperture that used to be on Mac computers, but they don't have that anymore. So.
And then Jonathan had to step out for a second, so he apologizes if this has already been talked about. But he just asked, watermarks, good, bad, or ugly? Right now, he's placing a strip along the top of each photo with their logo, number, and address.
So I already said no, Jonathan. You'll get a recording after this to tell you why I said no. But you're muddying your data. Don't do that. We can chat a little more in detail. My email is actually on the next slide, but we can chat a little bit more in detail if you want to talk about a better way to do this. I believe in watermarks because watermarks are like the transparent, almost not noticeable watermark that goes like, hey, you stole my picture. I know because this is my dealership's website or this is my dealership's logo sitting transparently over the tire or over something else right then and there. But it's not the same thing as throwing a banner up at the top. A banner at the top is not a watermark, and don't call it that. It's an advertisement. You're trying to advertise on top of advertising. So.
Okay, perfect. And then Sean asked what your thoughts are on enhancing vehicle pictures through Photoshop.
It depends on, like, I'm not sure, like, if you're just correcting the lighting so that it looks the same across all of your pictures, because nothing looks sillier than, like, if you scroll through an SRP and you could see that all of the pictures were taken at different times of day, or, you know, one day it was cloudy and one day it wasn't cloudy. Like, I get that that's how real life looks, but there are ways to kind of adjust that. But I don't think you should be photoshopping in or out blemishes. I don't think you need to clean up the floor because, like, unless for whatever reason there's an oil slick underneath, in which case I would probably not take that picture where the oil slick is, simply because then it looks like your car is leaking, like something like that. Like, I don't really know what the need, like some photographers will use Photoshop over Lightroom just because it's preference to accomplish the same thing. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't be correcting anything about your vehicles to make it not be what the car is, I guess, is the way that I'd say that.
Essentially, you still want the car to look how it's going to look when the customer sees it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Were there any other questions?
You guys had so many questions today. I love it. We went over time, but I love it. Nothing else?
Oh, one more.
All right. Oh, one more. Okay.
Facebook Pixel.
Oh.
Can it be integrated into the VDP?
I believe that, like, I believe you use the same pixel across your site. Yeah. So if you're using the same pixel across your site, we can have it placed on different pages and everything like that. You just have to please talk to your online marketing manager about it, because they will be the one to tell you what can be added where. They're the ones who will talk to design about it. I know lots, but I don't know all. So I will defer to the online marketing manager, so that way, if you're looking for a very specific kind of, like, I'm assuming that you're trying to be able to track how many people made it to a VDP from something on Facebook. So I would I'd talk to your online marketing manager to make sure that what it is that you're trying to accomplish can be accomplished, rather than give you a blanket answer that might actually not account for all the variations in this.
And by online marketing manager, she means your rep with Strathcom.
Yeah, your account manager, not your person in-house. Your person in-house might know too, but they probably might get the answer from your account manager at Strathcom.
Yeah, you bet. Then we just had another question here. What about posting pics on Facebook and Instagram as well as the dealer website? Mainly Instagram.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I wouldn't. So if you watched my social media webinar, or if you're going to attend our social media course in a few weeks, that's like a longer, more in-depth social media course that'll go over that. Don't exceed like my recommended 1.5 posts per day unless you have more than 5,000 followers on Instagram. But I don't see any reason to not utilize, especially because Instagram now allows for like a gallery style where you can scroll through up to 10 pictures, I think. So use it, like show them that. You're probably going to have to link to the VDP in your bio. Links don't work in the comments on Instagram or the caption on Instagram, but there's nothing wrong with sharing those pictures in other places. Just make sure that you know why you're sharing them in other places, other than just to be like, hey, look at the pictures of every car that I have in my inventory, because that gets old quick.
Okay, perfect. And then Michael just asked, do you know how to get the pics taken by an SLR, not a cell phone, and get it into Instagram?
Yeah. So here's the way that I used to do it. So we there's a couple different things that you can do. So once you've uploaded the images into your computer, you can sync them to pretty much anything that exists on the cloud. So what I would do, my personal favorite is I use Dropbox. So if I have all of my files always saved in Dropbox, and that way I can access them from anywhere, anytime, as long as I have the login. And you'll be able to save them to your mobile phone to then export them into Instagram. Some people use Google Drive. Some people there are any number of different apps. As long as it's something that you can easily download the photo at the highest resolution you possibly can, it'll translate really well in. There are also cameras out there that there are SLR cameras like that. I don't necessarily always agree that you need a full-blown SLR, as long as you have a good quality camera. There are ones that you can get now that once they attach to Wi-Fi, you can have it so that they have a companion app on your cell phone that a lot of, like, you'll take the picture and it'll, as soon as it attaches to Wi-Fi, which you can use from a hotspot on your phone if you really want, and it'll upload it into a folder on your phone, and you can use those right away. I've got a lot of friends who are bloggers or food bloggers, or post lots on Instagram for various other things that use that kind of a thing so that they can do it right then and there from whatever event or restaurant or anything that they're doing.
Perfect. And then yeah, Jonathan says he is the person in-house. Yes. So yes. Just reach out to your online marketing manager or your Strathcom rep, and they'll hook you up with the information you're after.
No more questions, guys? All right, so I'm going to say thank you for me for attending this webinar, and I'll pass it back off to JC afterwards to do the outro. But thank you guys for being super participatory today, and lots of questions. If you have other questions that come up, my email is Melina, MELINA, @strathcom.com, and you can reach me whenever. I will be answering emails